Chuck Schumer sent a letter out to who I call now Mitch McConnell, who is the Mitch Kiss Trump Rump McConnell, I'll call him. He sent a letter out to Mitch McConnell last night, and in that letter, he requested 4 witnesses. And it states here that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer made it clear in a letter to Majority Leader Mitch McConnell Sunday night that he prefers a Senate impeachment trial with witness testimony and new documents, a direct rebuttal to top Republicans who have argued in recent days that a shorter trial without witnesses would spare the Senate from becoming a partisan circus. Well, too late. It's already become a partisan circus. What we have seen last week in the hearings that took place with adults yelling at one another, and you watch the Republicans against the Democrats, all of this that have taken place, it has been a circus. There is no doubt about this. To the average American person who is watching this on a daily basis, I can only imagine what is going through their minds as we are viewing all of this take place. You know, I stated last week that Tribulation Trump, and we all know this as part of history, he will be the 3rd president to be impeached. Before him was Bill Clinton. Before Clinton was Andrew Johnson. And we know that in both cases, with Andrew Johnson and with Bill Clinton, though they were impeached by the House, they were both acquitted by the Senate and were not removed from office. And so one would ask a reasonable question then, does that mean that we're going to follow that same pattern with Tribulation Trump as we did with Bill Clinton as well as Andrew Johnson? And one could also say, most likely yes. Why do I say that? Because in the past 48 hours, we have heard from Republicans who are making statements before the trial has even taken place that there's no way that he's going to be removed from office. There's no way that Tribulation Trump will be convicted. And before I even continue to go on, I would rather for you to hear straight out of the Trump rump kisser's mouth. So let's play this video clip and I'll be back.
There is a special oath senators take promising to be impartial during impeachment proceedings. And as it turns out, there's a disturbing number at this point of senators who are actually talking about shrugging that responsibility off, perhaps not taking it quite as seriously. CNN's John Avalon running down now who. But first, just a reminder, take a listen to the oath.
You will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help you God.
So that's the special oath administered to senators in an impeachment trial. Impartial justice. What a concept. But leading Republican senators are already admitting they intend to violate that oath. Here's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this.
Now, by comparison, here's what Republican leader Trent Lott said in 1998 as Bill Clinton's impeachment loomed.
We're going to make every effort to make sure it is bipartisan and it is impartial and that everybody is consulted, including, the White House, if this goes forward, as well as Democratic leadership, Tom.
Hear the difference? And as a junior senator, Mitch McConnell also had a very different take.
Will we pursue the search for truth, or will we dodge, weave, and evade the truth? The president has engaged in a persistent pattern and practice of obstruction of justice.
So this time around, Republicans seem to have decided to dodge, weave, and evade the truth by embracing the White House line that the president did nothing wrong at all, which disregards testimony from Trump officials, even if you think it's not impeachable. But just as facts should matter, oaths should mean something as well. And when Republican elected officials ignore them for partisan purposes, they define deviancy down in our democracy. Listen to what Senator Lindsey Graham told CNN's Becky Anderson over the weekend.
This thing will come to the Senate, and it will die quickly, and I will do everything I can to make it die quickly. I am trying to give a pretty clear signal. I have made up my mind. I'm not trying to pretend to be a fair juror here.
You get that? I'm not trying to pretend to be a fair juror is, of course, the opposite of an oath to ensure impartial justice. It's also the opposite of what Congressman Lindsey Graham had to say in 1998.
Members of the Senate have said, I understand everything there is about this case, and I won't vote to impeach the president. Please allow the facts to do the talking. People have made up their mind in a political fashion that will hurt this country long term.
Wise words. He should take his own advice. The divides today are not simply partisan, though. They're along the lines of who wants to deal with the facts. And don't buy the line that impeachment shouldn't be pursued because the country is divided, with 50% supporting impeachment removal. Because when Republicans pursued Bill Clinton's impeachment, only 35% of the country supported it. And 1 month before Nixon resigned, only 46% said he should be impeached and removed. More than polls, principles and precedent do matter. And the core question for Congress right now is this: should presidents ask foreign powers to investigate their domestic political rivals? And somehow I doubt that if a Democratic president did that to a Republican, that Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham would be cool with it. Now they'd be screaming bloody murder, and they'd be right. Here's Lindsey Graham again.
Let me just say this. It would be a good test for us if a Republican president had done these things. Would a Republican delegation gone to tell him to get out of town? I hope so. Only time will tell.
Well, now we know the answer. And that's your reality check.
Reality check indeed. You've heard from Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham make statements in regards to this present impeachment case. And they are saying before the trial even takes place that there is no way that they are going to allow this to take place. And you heard Lindsey Graham also state that he's not trying to even pretend to be fair and balanced. And so we know that that is the case as compared to what they said years ago as junior senators. And so we see this across the board. Now, here's the thing with this whole impeachment process that takes place. We already know that the House has made an impeachment against Tribulation Trump. We already know that they've put out 2 articles forth, as they have announced last week. One is obstruction of justice. The other is abuse of power. And so now this goes to the Senate, where the Senate has to decide as to whether or not they will convict Tribulation Trump based on what they have heard thus far. What Chuck Schumer did last night in the letter to Mitch McConnell was to say, we want more witnesses to come forth. We want new information to shed some light on this impeachment process. Now, though he wrote that letter to Mitch McConnell, as you just heard in the statement from Mitch McConnell, there is no way that he is going to allow this to take place, because he is not going to in any way, shape, or form agree to anything that the Democrats are doing. As far as he is concerned, he is not going to agree with or commit to being fair and balanced in regards to Tribulation Trump and this impeachment trial. Now, the thing about the Senate is that 53 of the people in the Senate are Republicans, as compared to 45 Democrats. They need 67 votes altogether, 2/3 of the Senate's vote, to convict Tribulation Trump. 45 of them are Democrats. We have 2 independent senators who usually side with the Democrats. And so the fate lies in 20 of the GOP senators. Now, here's the question: whether these 20 GOP senators will side in impeaching Tribulation Trump. And most of us, if we are listening to Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham, most of us have already decided that it's most likely that that's not going to take place. It's most likely that they are going to side with the Democrats and impeach Trump. You're talking about, and it doesn't have to be all, well, actually it has to be all 20, because they need 67 votes. Will 20 GOP senators step forth and side with the Democrats in impeaching Tribulation Trump? Already down the line, right now, it's to the American person watching on their television, this is already the Democrats against the Republicans. It's the Democrats that want Tribulation Trump impeached, and the Republicans are saying that he did nothing wrong. We don't want him impeached. Now, through the course of these 3 years, we have seen some, and maybe some is too big of a number, a few Republicans come forth in their disagreements with Tribulation Trump over his behavior, over some statements that he's made, over some of his policies. But are they strong enough? Do they have enough backbone to stand up and say, I think that you need to be impeached, even if they actually feel that way? Do you think that they are bold enough to actually step forth and say, we're going to impeach you? Again, if we look at what we've seen thus far and the pattern that we've seen between what is taking place in the GOP, though many of them don't like Tribulation Trump, though many of them don't like what he has done to their party, he has completely destroyed. Well, I can't put it all on Tribulation Trump. Let me be fair. I cannot put it all on Tribulation Trump, because we all know that Tribulation Trump is a sick man. We all know that he does not have the capacity to love or to care or to reason. The man does not read. The man does not study. We all know that. That's not a secret. What the real problem is the people who stand for the Republican Party, they themselves have destroyed this party. It's not all on Tribulation Trump, because you see, as sick as Tribulation Trump is, you don't have to stand up and allow him to do the things that he's been doing over these past 3 years. This is your party, and you have allowed him to do whatever he wants to do as far as he's concerned, which is why he continues to do it, because there have been no consequences given to Tribulation Trump. And even those who have spoken out against him, well, we all know how Tribulation Trump has responded to them. And so will they be bold enough to actually vote against Tribulation Trump? And again, I say it's less likely that they're going to do it. Now, the thing I find interesting is I was looking deep into this impeachment process and what actually has to take place. If he is not impeached, if he is not convicted by the Senate, he can stay in office, obviously, and it's likely that he can actually run again. And so when we think about what is going to take place here, and I will leave it up to the American people as for you to decide what you think is going to take place, because honestly, it's less likely that they're going to impeach him. Now, could they surprise us? Of course. They could certainly surprise us. And even though Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham are saying there's no way that they're going to allow for this, and I'm sure that there are others who are feeling the exact same way, we could be surprised. Remember, there are 53 Republicans that are running the Senate right now. So anything is possible, of course. But if you were to think logically and reasonably with everything that we have witnessed so far, and you have watched the patterns that has taken place over these past 3 years in a response to both parties and how they respond to Tribulation Trump, one could reasonably think that it's less likely that they're going to convict Tribulation Trump. And even if they do impeach him, to remove him from the office, it's probably not going to happen. And let me add this as well. If they were to remove Tribulation Trump from office, having Mike Pence as president is not going to be any better. Here is a man, Mike Pence is a snake who hides behind that of Christianity. He knew all about what took place with Ukraine. He knew all about what took place with a lot of what Tribulation Trump has gone through, all of these backdoor handlings, all of the comments he has made. And Mike Pence stands up there with his gaze and love in his eyes for Tribulation Trump. But I'm telling you that man is a snake. So if they were to remove Tribulation Trump from office, having Mike Pence would not be any better for the American people. So I'll say this: we have lost, or you have lost. This country will never, ever be the same again. It will never be the same again. Whether it be Tribulation Trump, whether it be Mike Pence, it will never be the same again. I understand why the J5th race is hanging on to Tribulation Trump. As I watch again with all of this that is taking place, they still continue to support him. His base will not leave his side. And I get it. I understand it. But what I'm saying to you is that there is no way you will ever regain this country the way you once had it. It has been turned over. And who has done the turning over is God Almighty, and his name is Jesus. And no matter what you do, you can be an evangelical or Southern Baptist. You can say, you can want to believe that God sent Tribulation Trump. You can want to believe that he's done all of these great things. You can want to believe that he's going to bring this country back to the Japheth race. But I'm telling you now, and of course, you don't have to take my word for it. But I'm telling you, anyway, that you have lost. You will never regain this country again. I understand you don't want all these different colored brown people to take over. You don't want them to lead, but it's going to happen anyway. And so as we watch all of this take place, and we watch what is going to take place with the Senate, and we see all of this bickering back and forth and yelling, and all of these things take place, the Democrats are furious right now with Mitch McConnell as he has made those statements, because the trial hasn't even taken place yet. And this man is already saying it's not going to happen. And so we'll see what will take place. But again, who has lost is this country. This country has lost. And so no matter what happens, no matter how it goes, this country has lost. You can bet your dime on that. It will never, ever be the same again. Our democracy has completely been destroyed by Russia. No one can put their trust in our democracy again. The rest of the world is laughing at us. They're calling the President of the United States a dotard. They're talking and laughing behind his back. They are telling us that they're sending us special Christmas gifts. They have made a mockery. The GOP, Tribulation Trump, this administration has made a mockery of this country with his lawlessness, with his thinking he can do whatever he wants to do as President of the United States. And I'll say it again before we take this break. You have lost. You will never regain what you once had. It is over. The fat lady has sung, and she is continually singing. It is done.
This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.